Breaking bad habits is one of these interesting things that psychologists have talked about for a really long time. Let me give you just a couple of. Whether it's breaking a bad habit or creating a good habit, in the beginning, it's always sort of easy. It's the honeymoon phase. I can do this. I don't have to have ice cream every night. The problem is when you get to the first obstacle. What you've got to do at that point is what's called a fight through. If you fight through this 2 or 3 times, you've now gone from the honeymoon phase into the second phase of creating good habits and breaking bad habits. But even after the fight throughs, after you get through this a few times, you finally got to get to the phase where it becomes secondary nature. It can take weeks, it can take days, it depends who you are. But when you get to that secondary nature phase, the habit has moved from a more transient area of your brain to a more ingrained part of your brain. It just becomes part of who you are.
For someone in the armed forces, training that becomes part of who you are can mean the difference between life and death. Back at Camp Pendleton in California, these young men are in the middle of the Crucible. It's a grueling test of endurance, strength, teamwork. For 54 hours, the recruits get just 3 meals, 2 periods of 4-hour sleep, and complete 24 obstacles simulating combat conditions. At the core of the training is a concept called bias toward action.
So bias towards action is about how we generate motivation. A number of years ago, they were trying to reform boot camp for Marines. And the guy who was running the Marines, a guy named General Charles Krulak, read a bunch of research about locus of control. So it turns out that all of us have an internal or an external locus of control. And depending on which one we have, we either believe that we're in charge of our own destiny or that things happen to us and that we're powerless against them. To be motivated, to generate motivation, you have to believe that you're in control of your own destiny. And the way that we teach people that is by a bias towards action. That when I see a problem, I go and I solve it. That when someone gives me an assignment, I don't ask them how to do that assignment, I just go and figure out how to do it. That my first instinct upon seeing any type of situation is to act, is to assert myself. Because what I'm really doing is I'm proving to myself that I have control over this situation, that I have control over what's going on. And that triggers our sense of motivation within our brains.
In just a few hours, you'll have the opportunity to become a Marine. You understand? Yes, sir. But first, you have to show that you have what it takes. You understand that? Yes, sir.
Charles says studies have shown someone's locus of control can be influenced through training and feedback. The Marines need to be a motivated group.
Let's take it back and then you 4 go together.
Usually the first into a dangerous situation, there's no time to wait around for orders.
All right, come down one at a time.
Decisions need to be made quickly and confidently. So they designed the Crucible in a way that forces recruits to think on their feet and take control. Captain Nathan Tucker oversees Crucible training at Camp Pendleton.
You know, in the military, you have to have a bias for action, all right? You're either going to take action and make something happen, or you're going to stand by and let something happen to you. As Marines, you need to take action, take the initiative, and you know, take the fight to the enemy. That's what we like to do. And I will say that it starts from day one from them coming here.
This stage of the Crucible is known as 12 stall. These stations are designed to test the recruits mentally, conditioning the brain to figure out how to execute an objective.
Hey, Jones, can you give us some lift from that angle? Yeah.
The only information the recruits are given is the end goal. The rest is up to them.
We have people coming from the East Coast, from the West Coast, from the North, from the South, and we all need to come together and work as a team. For that, we need a base of ethos that we all understand and we can all talk the same language. Because as you know, everybody's not raised the same. So we need to be able to come together and work as a team. In combat, it doesn't matter what kind of technology you have, what kind of science you have. At the end of the day, it's human will, all right, the human dimension. And that's why the Marine Corps has put so much emphasis on the bias for action and our core values.
Time for our final healthy habits tip. You've probably heard it takes 21 days to form a habit, but that's actually a myth. It really depends on the circumstances, the behavior, and the individual. One study found it takes anywhere from 18 days to 254 days to form a habit. For the Marines, this training takes 11 weeks. If the Crucible is the culmination of that time, then a hike up what is known as the Reaper is the culmination of the Crucible. The next morning, under a dense fog, the first group of recruits finishes the hike. By the time all 400 recruits make it, the sun has started to rise. It's here, on top of this mountain, that these young men graduate from training and officially become United States Marines.
During the past 3 days, many of you have had to rely on your fellow recruit to find the strength to press on. Together, you have faced the final challenge of recruit training. You now share a bond forged through hardship that cannot be broken. You have proven that you deserve to be among America's warrior elite. You have done what many dare to try. You have earned the title United States Marine. Congratulations and Semper Fidelis. Are we ready? Yes, sir! Are we sure? Yes, sir! Come on, sir!
The recruits return to formation, where they are given the emblem of the Marines. The eagle, globe, and anchor. Emotions are high. They've done it. And along the way, they've learned to make decisions for themselves.
And you've joined our storied and grand brotherhood. So I invite you, my fellow Marines, to join me in our Marines hymn.
This idea of bias toward action isn't just for the armed forces. All of us can apply it in our everyday lives. When you're mindful of your actions, then you're in control. It will help motivate you to break bad habits and also make good ones. For Vital Signs,